This episode is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the #1 tool for all podcasters. You can record high-fidelity audio between remote locations and get studio-quality sound. Go to Zencastr.com and use coupon code THATENTERTAINS for 20% off for 3 months or 20% off an annual plan.
This is a That's Entertainment podcast.
Awesome.
Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. That was awesome. You guys are awesome.
No,
You're awesome.
no.
You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. Right off the bat, I want to apologize for, I don't know how this is going to sound until I sit down and edit it, but this is truly a mobile intro. I am on the move, on my way to things as I sit down to record this outro for the next episode or two. So I don't know what's going to get picked up. I'm using some better quality microphones while I do it. Normally we just use the phone itself, and that picks up a lot of background noise. I'm hoping that using a better quality mic, you don't get that. But be warned. Anyway, oh man, right off the top of the show, we got to thank some people. For those that don't know, we relaunched the Patreon. We rebooted it, if you will. It seems like it's the year of the reboot. Jay and Silent Bob, and really that's the only thing I have off the top of my head that's getting rebooted, but I know there's a bunch. I guess technically remakes are happening this year as well. But anyway, our Patreon is no longer for That's Entertainment Podcast Network. It is now patreon.com/thatnerdykev. It is a place where you can go to support me as a content creator as I get ready in 2019 to do more things that are Kev-centric, which also means the network-centric as well. But I'm getting ready to do more things that are me. So, I'm going to be launching 1 or 2 more shows that I'm going to be hosting this year. I'm going to be bringing the After Party of One pod up to speed and back and whatnot. So I'm going to be working on like 3 to 4 podcasts that are anywhere from a monthly show to a weekly show. And in order to do that, I would love to, and not only just to do that, I can do that as things currently stand, but in order to do it at a higher quality and at maybe even a better rate, doing things, some of the fun, this show is always going to be weekly. This is the show that I enjoy doing. I don't want to say the most, but this is the one that, I don't know. This is the one for me that's weekly. This is the home base. But things like After Party of One, that's monthly, where we cover 4 shows in one of the Party of One podcast. Maybe we can bump that up. Maybe we can do weekly. Maybe we can do live shows with it. Maybe some shows like In Character that we're currently trying to solicit a list of people who would be interested to be a guest. In Character is a show where I'm going to sit down. I've tapped into the multiverse. If it's like this show, except I'm sitting down and talking to characters throughout the multiverse. I'm talking to characters, we've tapped into a lot and have access to a lot of tabletop role-playing game universes. So, characters that maybe you hear on actual play podcasts and whatnot. We're going to be able to tap into the multiverse and get them on a podcast and talk to them and explore their worlds and whatnot. And, if in order to do that on a more frequent basis, that's going to be a bi-weekly show. In order to do that, weekly or to do live shows with that, the Patreon, I think, is the best way for us to help kind of fund that stuff. So Patreon has been rebooted, retooled, patreon.com/thatnerdykev. And you can go there and check out the rewards we have for your subscription. And to kind of kick things off, we got to thank our patrons from this month. As always, good old Mike D'Angelo is one of our Patreons. He's been there from the beginning. He's a day one. And new to the revamped, retooled, rebooted Patreon, please, thank you. Give your props. Give some thanks to Priest Pulse. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on Patreon, and to sweeten the deal for Priest Post, that's our good buddy Ben from the Pot of Love podcast as well. So there's a couple extra plugs for you there, buddy. But thank you guys for supporting. Your Patreon dollars help us cover costs. That's the first thing we need to do, is cover some baseline costs, which I guess, it roughly cost, I forget what I have up there, but I think a good estimate's about like $25 to $50 is what I realistically, somewhere in that ballpark, is what I spend a month to keep everything we do afloat. So if we can hit that goal, I would be very, very happy to like be able to say that I don't pay out of pocket to do podcasting anymore. I've done that for a very long time. I obviously am going to continue to do it. But that's like baseline. From there, it's improving equipment. It's getting travel money to go to cons, especially like as we step up our tabletop actual play, either related or adjacent content. I would love to be able to take those shows on the road, like we do Everything Is Awesome. And in order to do that, that all costs money and whatnot. So that's where your Patreon dollars are going to go. And then in long game, 5-year plan is I would love to be able to not do this as my full-time job, but to be able to pay other content creators to work with us, whether that means podcasting or video or whatever that means to you, as a content creator yourself. That's what we're looking to do long term is, bring more people into the That's Entertainment fold, and the Crude Humor Studios fold. Anyway, this week's guest, I've babbled on long enough. This week's guest is someone who I indirectly met at Wizard World when we did our panel. I didn't actually meet her until after the panel, and I'm talking like weeks after the con. This is Maggie from the Temple of Geek blog. She was at Wizard World Philadelphia doing photography and writing some con coverage for Temple of Geek, and she wrote an article about the Wizard World and some of the things on, I don't know if it was the whole weekend or day one or whatever, but she name dropped Everything Is Awesome and talked a little bit about our panel that we ran there and included some pictures of our panelists and stuff. So it was super, super cool. Like, that was an amazing thing to see happen. And I don't know how much I expressed that to Maggie on or off air, but like that meant the world to me. As someone who's been podcasting for, almost 12 years now, and has been like trying to do more in like the pop culture scene and kind of get recognition for that, meant the world to me. Like, that was such I don't know, it melted my heart, and it brought a tear to my face to see that. So thank you, Maggie, for that, and thank you for this amazing conversation. We sit down and we cover a lot of different things. Maggie is a college student going to school for communications and broadcasting and stuff, so we kind of just were very pop culture heavy conversation, and we did chat a little bit about covering cons as part of the press. We did talk about what it's like to be a college student, our generational gaps, and just a whole lot more right here on Everything Is Awesome. So please take a listen right here on the That's Entertainment Podcast Network at thatentertains.com/network, and of course, home base, awesomepodcast.com. Thank you for being on the show. Yeah, we're hopping right in.
Yeah, no problem. It took quite a bit to actually set up. We've been trying to do this since like May.
Since I want to say I requested your presence after you wrote the glowing review of Wizard World. It's my, I guess it like, because you linked the Everything Is Awesome website.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice it because I don't pay attention to anything on the back end of the website. And my buddy who co-runs the parent company for the podcast, he's like, yo, somebody wrote an article on Everything Is Awesome at Wizard World. I'm like, what?
And yeah, so that's what started this little
yeah. I mean, I remember
now.
I was at Wizard World and I was kind of, I don't even remember what I was doing. I was just on that bottom floor and I was like, I have so much time to kill. And because I was by myself and I was like, might as well pop into here because I'd seen the description like in the program thing, but I hadn't like planned to do it because I had 600,000 other things to do. And then I popped in and I don't know if you remember, but I was like just circling the like perimeter of the room taking pictures for like press, and I was like, I feel so weird, but this is also very fun to listen to.
I do, like, it's funny, like in hindsight I do remember all of that during the middle of it, which I was sick for. I think I had like a 6-pack of pineapple juice and a bottle of honey on the table that I kept on like. I'm almost positive. I know I had it planned where I was going to make it a bit where I was drinking the bottle of honey very specifically. But I think I had decided to not make it so obvious. And I think I was like kind of ducking off to the side as Ariel and Mike and Kate were chatting. I would just kind of duck off and take my little hit of honey. But yeah, that was that was our second panel. That was such a fun, and that was like the first major con that I did in any kind of capacity.
Yeah, that was my first big con too. Like I'd gone to like the local ones around where I am in Pittsburgh, but I'd never been to like a big legit one, and I was by myself. And so it was like I drove out, stayed at my great aunt's house, got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, went, took pictures all day, and I was like, I was sitting in the press pit for like some of the panels, and I'm going, I don't belong here. I'm literally 20 years old with these people that have like 4 different cameras, and I'm like, I'm using my Nikon my mom got me for Christmas.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I did press for Keystone Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I 100% did not feel like I felt I fit in as a 34-year-old. But I also am not a photographer. Like, I'm not there.
I'm not either. I'm barely a photographer. Like, I just had my like 1-year anniversary today.
I saw that. Yes. Congrats.
Thank you.
But it's definitely, I mean, way more talent than me. Like I do the fake photography that's through the iPhone.
I mean, that's still photography.
Portrait mode.
Because my strategy is click until it looks good. So
see, and that's like for podcasting, it's just record until it sounds good.
Yeah, and you can edit out all the gross bits. That's what I do with I take audio production classes for school because I'm a communications major. I have recorded everything on my phone for the last like 4 assignments I've had to do. So I don't think equipment or like talent is any part of it. You just do it till you suck less. That's that's art.
That's specifically in the world of podcasting. That is been my philosophy for 11 years now. 11 and a half years is just suck less with each year. But that's like when I started podcasting 11 years ago, it wasn't as simple as like just having your phone. Like you couldn't record good audio on your phone. I just got done talking to someone else about our original setup. The original setup for our first podcast in 2007 was like, I had no idea what a podcast was. No one did. It was like a year old at that point. And I'll make it short since I've told this story numerous times and very recently. But the first official setup, I was in Maine for work. My co-host was in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Levittown. The producer and just mastermind behind all the audio stuff, because I didn't know what I was doing back then. He was in Philadelphia. So, and back then Skype was like literally not a thing in 2007, or it was in its infancy. So I think we were either using AIM chat.
Oh my God.
Or whatever the pre-hangout was. I think it was called
I'm
just
too young to even remember AIM. Like I didn't have an AIM thing.
Really? No. Well, AIM, they just recently died. They were around.
Yeah, they were. I mean, like I was on, when I came into social media, I was on like the close to death end of MySpace. That's when I came into social media, and I was like 8 at the time.
Oh, okay.
I'm a baby.
Well, Yeah, that's so for those that are, I mean, in the world of podcasting, you're not just joining us, but for those that are like have no idea what's going on right now, because there was no explanation to this to our guest right now. Maggie is she covered press for Wizard World and for Temple of Geeks.
Yes.com. That I who sparsely write for because I don't have time because I'm a student. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't get better when you become a person, a human, a real human. No. I am behind on 95% of everything, partially because of like just depression and family emergencies.
Also
but
valid. Fair.
Yes, but also because like I'm like, hey, here's an idea. I'll do 5 podcasts and I'll review comic books and I'll also do like a million other things.
Yeah.
And it just all kind of falls to the side until I decide to pull an all-nighter like I am tonight.
Yep.
But and there's a massive age difference where I find it funny. I always find it funny when I talk to people that are literally in a whole nother generation than me, because it is so different. Because I grew up with, I don't count AIM as social media.
Yeah, it's not. It was just like the Facebook Messenger of its day.
Oh my God. But it wasn't even like, I guess like, I don't know what you call it back then. I guess it was social media to a degree.
Yeah.
It just wasn't called that by name.
Yeah. I guess defining social media, even now it's like, what is social media? I mean, I've had that conversation in my research class for the past like 3 weeks. Like, what do you count as social media? I don't know.
Yeah. Cause now it starts to blend with the internet, but like the internet, there, like I grew up on dial-up AOL 2.5.
I'm just like getting the dial-up sound in my head.
Yeah, and that was a struggle. I mean, that was real life. There was a time. I mean, you don't remember. You had instant internet probably your entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there might have been dial-up when I was like tiny, like before I kind of had a concept of what the internet was, because like I have a memory of the dial-up sound. It's not just something I would like hear on like recordings growing up. Like I remember that, and I think it was like because we always had a computer in the house because my parents are nuts. Not nuts, but like they had to do work on it. So like we had the dinosaurs from the time I was little. But like being on the internet, I do not remember having to like log on and you couldn't be on the phone while you were using the internet, that kind of thing. Like I don't remember that.
And that's such a like special time of like the internet for me, because that's like when you could do like silly things and not get in trouble. And I mean, I guess it's
like Napster or whatever that was.
Oh my, well, first of all, Napster is still.
I feel like I'm making references that are far too old for how old I actually am.
Napster is a current day thing. That's still around.
Is that still a thing?
It's a legitimate service now.
Well, maybe I'm thinking of like LimeWire.
LimeWire does not exist.
That's a thing that died.
But Napster did die for a while. Napster was a thing. It was the first thing that allowed you to acquire music, and maybe other things. Maybe I don't see. Now I'm blending my piracy with current day piracy and old. I guess old school was just music that you could pirate at least easily. Yeah. And Napster was the OG for that. But they are like, you could go, I don't know if it's Napster.com, but you can go to find Napster and have like a legit. I think they're like a Spotify service now.
I just Googled it and it is now entirely legal.
Yeah.
It says like their tagline is same digital service, 100% legal.
But I don't think there's a world like, I don't know if anyone actually pirates music anymore, because like it's essentially like you kids these days have it easy where you can literally pay $10 a month and have all the music in the world.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't have any music like downloaded onto my phone anymore because I have like, I'm just looking at all my music apps. All I use is like Spotify, and I use Amazon Music because that's like $14 a month, and it's like every song ever, and no skip limit. And I'm like, wow, like because I remember when I was in, because I did do the pirating music thing when I was in like middle school. I would like find songs that I liked and like pirate them so I could put them on my phone because stuff on iTunes was always so expensive, you know, like you could rack up a lot of money paying for songs on iTunes, and I feel like that's kind of died now.
For sure, because I mean, I still purchase music when I buy digitally or when I get it digitally. I don't. I have free accounts with Spotify and whatever those other ones are. But I when I want to buy something and have it on my phone to like listen to permanently, I usually buy digitally through iTunes. I don't stream through Apple Music because there's something to me. I still, even though I'm not buying the physical media, I'm a very like when it comes to most things, I'm a physical like technology person. Like I need to have the physical book in my hand. I need to have the physical DVD, even though there's no like special inserts anymore. Oddly enough, music's the one thing that I've let go of the physical medium for because it's what's the point? I guess is like you have to make it digital to listen to it almost anywhere. Even in your, like my car has a CD player, but I'm sure there's cars that don't.
Yeah. I don't even know if my car has a CD player. I mean, I think it does. I think I just don't use it because like I've had an aux cord because my car used to be my mom's car. So I've had the aux cord in there since I got it. So that's just kind of what I like stick that in there and I just play my podcast because I have like a 3.5 hour journey home from school. So I just stick my podcast on and listen to those the whole time.
Yeah. I'm also a very, like, I talk about music. I don't listen to music very often because I listen to like 95 million podcasts and also produce them.
Oh God. I'm on the opposite end. I listen to podcasts like when I'm doing my makeup in the morning, but for the most part, when I walk to class, I listen to a lot of music. It's just, like, even if it's just like the same 5 or 6 songs that I have like something to walk to. And also like when I'm in the dining hall at school because people are irritating and I don't want to listen to them talk because I'm antisocial. But so I play a lot of music and I play music like when I'm studying or when I'm writing or stuff like that. And it kind of it'll be the same like 10 songs in a row. Like at the moment, I've seen Bohemian Rhapsody 3 times. So my entire playlist at the moment is just Queen. So I just kind of subsist on the same 10 songs and they rotate like every 3 months.
Yeah. But that makes sense for short spurts of listening to your iDevice or your digital device.
Yeah.
When you're listening to a podcast, like my daily commute is about an hour long. So I can, and I also listen to all my podcasts at 1.5 times speed because again, I listen to all of the podcasts. So that hour I can usually get about an hour and 20 to an hour and a half worth of podcasting in.
Yeah.
But like when I'm walking, like when I go to the gym, it's usually not podcasting that I'm listening to because that's hard to concentrate on and get a workout in.
Yeah. Yeah. I just started to do, I've kind of gone backwards and I've started buying vinyl now.
Yeah.
I started buying records. Literally because my friend and I went record shopping because they have an actual record player. I don't. And I went record shopping with them and I just thought the album art on the thing I bought was pretty. So I bought it and now I have a record collection.
It's funny. I have a record player that I got for Christmas last year. One of those like vintage ones that has the CD player and the cassette tape. Kids, a cassette tape is kind of like a tiny VHS tape, and a VHS tape is what happened before DVDs, which is what happened before Blu-rays. Wow.
Oh, God. I know what VHS and cassette tapes are. So, I mean, because my parents and I still have a giant collection of every Disney movie that was ever released on VHS. Because, like, I live in a weird world where like growing up I watched VHS tapes, but then by the time I was like 12 they were a dead medium, and if you had a VHS player you could still buy VHS tapes but they weren't like making new ones. So it was weird how quickly they transitioned from these giant clunky things that you could break to DVDs, which broke even more easily if you scratch them, which we did because it was my brother and I who are heathens.
Yes.
Watching all the movies.
Yeah, I have a big pet peeve, and again, it's probably because I was a sane adult human, well, or at least a teenager when DVDs were a thing, and I like am very particular with how anything that's disc oriented is handled because again, and I think technology is better where even if you get a scratch, it's not the end of the world these days. But I having like one of the first DVD players, it was the end of the world. And I love, like, movies is probably the thing that I love, like, that I intake the most. Like, I'm not a big music person. Well, podcasting is, but like actual like visual art, or I don't want to say talented art because that takes away from all the podcasters, but we're not talented. We can just sit around and talk.
Talent is relevant.
But like film is like my go-to like expression. So I love watching movies, and I always get I would be real particular with how they're handled.
Yeah. I think I was a tiny heathen child when this transfer kind of started, and I have a little brother, and we were the siblings that routinely smacked each other with plastic lightsabers. So we weren't exactly gentle. I think now it's funny. I went to watch Night at the Museum the other day, and we have a DVD of it because I was like, I don't want to rent this on Amazon. I know we have the DVD. I remember when we bought this, and I went to play it, and it was super scratched up because we treated it like garbage. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. And then that was the first time in ages that I actually had a thought of like, oh yeah, we did damage this thing, and I can no longer use it because I'm so used to just streaming everything. Yeah.
And as someone, I mean, I still buy the physical media, like I said, for movies, because I don't know why, because I literally am pretty much watching everything through Netflix or the DC Universe app.
Yeah. Oh, that's a thing.
God, yeah, a DC Universe app.
I don't keep up with DC at all.
I do, simply because when it comes to like their television work, they actually make a good product. Like their movies, tend in see, I grew up when DC movies were the best comic book movies, but in modern times, Marvel kind of takes that crown, at least generally speaking.
I think the actual last DVD I think we bought, because we hadn't bought DVDs in a while, was Infinity War. That's like the most recent DVD we have in our case.
But that's a good one to have.
See, I didn't like Infinity War.
I know. I try not to comment.
No, it's okay. I don't. This is no longer an argument that I care about. I don't care if you like it or not. It's a movie. It happened.
I guess I can see like some of the complaints that people have with it, but I also like, if looking at, I mean, because I have my complaints too. Like the biggest thing during the panels that we did at Wizard World and the Great Philadelphia Comic Con, like my big complaint was most of those deaths, specifically like the ones that happened after the snapping, was like they didn't matter. Like I know.
Yeah, they didn't.
Like,
just had no weight.
Yeah, like Black Panther 2 is like greenlit. Spider-Man.
I know, it's literally, like we know these people are coming back. Why?
And ironically, and I know this is one of the deaths you have an issue with, at least according to Twitter, you do. But the Spider-Man death to me is the only one that kind of matters, because at least like there was emotion behind that scene.
I think I agree with you. I think there was emotional weight to that, and it affected a character in some way. And like you could argue that like, Bucky, and I don't even remember who from Black Panther. Was it T'Challa that died? Like he dusted or whatever. Like everybody that dusted, I'm like, I understand there's gonna be emotional implications later, but now it's just like, you did so much at once that I just don't care. Well, like there's too much happening here.
And I don't even know that it to me, it's not even that there was too much. It's just that like, and I don't know how they could have done it better. Like, because you have to, like, I love that it's a bleak ending. Like it has that Empire Strikes Back ending, or the for your generation, the Rogue One ending.
Oh God, don't remind me.
Where it's a bleak ending, and like that's why like Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie for that reason. Rogue One is, I think, my favorite post Disney era Star Wars movie for that reason. And Infinity War, while I think there's plenty of Marvel movies I enjoy more, at least the ending to Infinity War I kind of really dig, and it might be my favorite ending because it is that bleak ending.
I think for me, just coming off of stuff like Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok, especially Ragnarok because that's one of my all-time favorite kind of films in general. I think coming off of those that had such a different vibe, I don't like depressing stories. I'm like, I have anxiety. Don't do this to me. But like, I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm not a big depressing ending type of person. And I also just don't really like the way the Russo brothers have written their movies since Winter Soldier. I almost forgot the name of it. But like, I don't know. I think coming off of stuff like Ragnarok and Black Panther and like even Wonder Woman kind of before that, I think that the sort of hopefulness storylines, I was like, cool, we can do more of these. And then also Thanos was just such an uninspired like villain for me. I was like, cool, you look like a big raisin. That's all I'm getting. And I think also because Cable was also a thing right next to that, and I loved Cable so much that I was like, why'd you drop the ball there, Josh Brolin?
Well,
why'd you drop the ball?
I honestly don't think that was Brolin's fault.
I don't think it was. I think it was just a coincidence that I was piggybacking on.
And I can see that the whole Thanos of it all being an issue, because there was, and I don't know if we discussed it during the panel at Wizard World or if it was the panel that we did at the Great Philadelphia Comic Con before Wizard World, but we did get into a pretty hefty discussion about how they kind of, Marvel in general, I don't think it was the Russo brothers necessarily, kind of dropped the ball with Thanos.
Yeah, they did.
To me, what's like it had a lot of potential for a storyline was his storyline with Gamora, but it was all within this one film that's already got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And
there's just there's so many people. Yeah. And they started to kind of build him up in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then he just like disappeared and went off to do whatever he does for like 5-6 movies, and then he comes back and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to care about this person now?
He was in the first Avengers movie. Like
was he?
Yeah, he was a post-credit op, I think.
Oh. Okay. I haven't watched the first Avengers in ages because I stopped watching anything Joss Whedon ever does after I took a course my freshman year of college that was basically Joss Whedon's work in feminism, and it was like, here's why he's garbage. And so I haven't watched any of his stuff since like late 2016.
And to be fair, and probably more to your argument than Joss's argument. I like, to me, Avengers, the original Avengers movie is almost a near perfect comic book movie because it is.
I think so too. I just don't. It's not on any streaming services. That's my thing. I'm like, I don't want to watch anything if it's on a streaming service. I don't want to pay money.
But I can also see where like there's even that movie has some problems when it comes to like the female representation.
Oh yeah.
So I can but that's also almost a lifetime ago. Like that is.
It is in terms of like superhero movies. It was what, like 6 years ago now,
if not longer. Like it's
2012. Yeah. So it was 6 years ago.
Okay. So.
Oh, I feel old.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not going to get into that argument. But
yeah, God, I was 14. That's crazy.
I think I was 28. Yes.
I hope I did that math right in my head.
I did. For me, I did.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that movie, even in 2012, that movie had problems. And you can see, I mean, really, DC was the one that beat Marvel to the punch.
DC stepped the hell up.
And like, they seem to be, I think, course correcting, with Aquaman and then, kind of, I guess, doing singular movies and not doing the universe thing. I still kind of want them to keep them connected, even if it's connected the way the like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is connected to the MCU. It's just very, because there's, I think, potential there just when you don't have Zack Snyder directing these movies.
Agreed. He's not good. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to get into an argument on the internet.
Well, you're not gonna get into it because I will die on that hill of Zack Snyder's not.
Oh yeah, that's a hill. Yeah, there are a few hills I'll die on, and that's one of them.
I know plenty of people that think Man of Steel is a good Superman movie, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
My best friend loves it, and I'm like, I don't like. Also, I've never finished Man of Steel because I get bored halfway
See,
through.
I don't know that I don't think it's a boring film. I don't think it's a bad movie. Maybe it is, but it's a bad Superman movie. And I get crap from people because I'll say that and they're like, well, you're just a purist. Whereas like, no, like you should take your own original take on these superheroes that we've known for literally 80 years or more. And you should do something new with them. But the one thing about Superman, what makes Superman great in a world where like literally the only thing he's allergic to is a green rock, is that he is like what we aspire to be. He gives us hope in a time when, you know, life sucked 80 years ago, and he was supposed to be the representation of this is what we can aspire to be as mankind. And really in 2018 is kind of, and I mean, I guess Man of Steel came out before, like, you know, I don't know, like
2013.
So, yeah. But, you know, so times weren't as bad then, but still, I think that value that he holds as that kind of hero never goes away. Where same thing with Captain America. That like Captain America can't. The reason that, and I didn't read the storyline, but the reason that storyline kind of like irked everybody in the comic books when he went Nazi is because that's not. Captain America is supposed, supposed to be punching the Nazis, and Superman,
punch Nazis. Everybody should punch.
Absolutely,
Nazis.
And Superman's not supposed to break necks, and he's supposed to save his dad.
Yeah,
and he's supposed to be the boy. So you can take you can take Batman and give him a gun, and I can buy it. I can buy why Batfleck had a gun. I can't buy why Cavill's Superman broke Zod's neck. I won't ever buy that. I won't buy why he didn't save his dad. Like every mythos I know about Superman, there's one thing. It's he saves his dad and he doesn't break nets. You know, so
yeah. I think for me, growing up, I always say this. I watched a lot of weird stuff when I was a kid. And so I think I tended to lean, at least when I watch movies, more towards like Batman. I think that was more my thing, was the dark, broody, and not even really for Batman. I just like the villains. I wanted to be Jim Carrey's Riddler when I was little. Like that was my type of thing. And so I think I lean more towards Batman. So I think for me now, I just can't find something I like about Superman. You know, like I don't want to call him boring white man, because the whole history of Superman, he was created by Jewish men, and there's a lot of sort of history behind that, and history behind kind of that idea of persecution and that type of thing. And I don't want to call it that. I think it's just, for me, I'm like, I see Superman everywhere. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. I've heard that since I could like process words, you know. And I think the same thing for me. I think it's both sides of the coin. I think that's how I feel with Captain America too. I think it's just like I'm not too much of a person that goes for goody two shoes heroes. I like a little bit of an anti-hero. Yeah. So I think for me with Man of Steel, and even Batman versus Superman, I was just like, okay, cool, this is happening. Why should I be interested? You know, and I also haven't ever finished the Christopher Reeve Superman either. My best friend has tried to get me to watch that too, and I'm like, I know that this is one of the most iconic performances of all time, but like, I can't do it. But also that one's 3 hours long, so that might also be my problem. That was my problem with The Shining.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I don't like this. This could have lost an entire hour.
Oh my God. Okay, so we can talk about this because and maybe I saw this. I don't know. Maybe I saw this on Twitter somewhere, and I didn't think it was you, but maybe it was, because I watched it for the first time this year. Same. It's funny because I watched that for the first time, and then I watched the original Halloween for the first time this year as well.
Also same.
And what I loved about the original Halloween is that it in 2018 it holds up as a perfectly acceptable horror slasher flick. And, like, it doesn't seem dated. Like, I guess a little bit it does, but like it's not. It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it is.
Where The Shining is long. Definitely could have shaved
so long.
At least a half hour out of that. But it also in 2018 does not hold up. Like you can't have that movie in 2018. It's very and I don't know if vulgar is the word I want to use, but it's very like there's just, they drop the N-bombs. They
oh yeah, oh god, I forgot about that.
And I think you could probably keep the story where he beats his wife or whatever. But the way he talks about women in that movie, just I don't know if that holds up.
Yeah, I don't think it would either. I think that kind of physically pained me. Also, the knowledge that Stanley Kubrick really treated Shelley Duvall like garbage kind of took me out of it. And also the fact that, like, for the most part, other than the, like, beating on his wife, I didn't see any kind of marked change between normal Jack Nicholson and what was supposed to be crazy Jack Nicholson. Because in my mind, as somebody who grew up watching him as the Joker, I was like, that's just how Jack Nicholson acts all the time. Yeah. Like, that's kind of, it didn't feel like there was a change. And I was like, and growing up, I saw this stuff from The Shining. Like, I knew Red Rum everywhere. Like, you see the pictures of the creepy twins all the time. And I was expecting so much more of that to be in the movie. And the only kind of real marked sort of scary thing is when he goes to whatever that room is. I don't remember the number of the room, but you're not supposed to go in because people got murdered in there. That was the only real, like, scary bit, when the woman sort of turns into a corpse.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's creepy. I don't like that. But it was not so much I was scared, more as like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's definitely like, I have film friends who are like way more like, I like movies as like popcorn, like it's my entertainment. But I have friends who are like way into the art of film, and they love The Shining. And I guess there's reasons for that, and
it's a Kubrick fanboy thing. I feel like Kubrick has such like a cult following with like film school kids.
And it's someone who would love to do an indie film one day. I'm still not that market, because it's I don't know, it just felt very dated, and watching like I said, the original Halloween maybe 2 weeks after I watched The Shining, it just amazed me how much the original Halloween holds up in 2018 as a film that doesn't feel dated, save for maybe the actual quality of it. Like, you can tell that it was filmed versus what new movies look like. But other than that,
I think because I watched the original Halloween this year too, and I think the difference was that after because I'm very sort of superstitious, like I get freaked out really easily. After watching The Shining, I was fine. I could walk in my dorm room alone at 2:00 in the morning and be fine. After I watched Halloween, I remember I was at my father's house, and my bedroom's upstairs, and when you turn all the lights off on the bottom floor, it's dark as hell. Like it's you can't see a damn thing. And I was upstairs, and I had to go back downstairs at like 1:00 in the morning to get something. I think it was my headphones. And I had to walk all the way back downstairs. I was the only one left awake. The entire bottom floor is dark. And I just remember booking it down the stairs, grabbing the headphones, running back up, because I was convinced I was going to get got by Michael Myers at 1:00 in the morning. That's how much that movie kind of got to me. And I was making fun of the movie as I was watching it, because that's how I cope with horror movies. But like, if it stuck with me enough for me to be freaked out walking the bottom floor of my house that I know has a security system on it, like if I'm that freaked out, then I know it's kind of got to me in a, not necessarily a good way, because I don't want to be scared, but it got to me.
Yeah, that didn't happen for me. But
I'm just a baby.
Well, I think for me, I'm saying, is that this movie still has like some sort of like kind of fantastical element to it, where it's not 100% believable that after what happens to Michael several times in the movie, he's still getting up and standing. He's still kind of like that's I grew up on Scream. Like, that was like the first horror movie I watched I think Scream came out when I was like 9. I probably watched it when I was like 12 or 13. So it was like my first. I hated horror movies when I was a kid. Like one of my first experiences, and this isn't really a horror movie, but of getting scared was the scene in Beetlejuice when he turns into a snake from like
into the snake. Yeah.
And that, like, I was 5 when I watched that, and I just never watched any, like, I still don't think I've watched a complete Freddy movie. I don't think I've watched a complete Jason movie. And it took me 34 years to watch the first original Halloween movie. So so it was what Scream, and I don't think I saw it in the theater because that seems like it was probably bad parenting if someone took me to see that. But I did see it probably when it was on DVD when I was a preteen or early teenager. And like, what I respect about Halloween is that I see how that movie influenced Scream. And what makes me respect Scream even more is that I see how it takes and pulls from Halloween, but it does not rip it off at all. And it's just entirely its own thing. And I don't know I lost my point. Scream is a good movie. Scream is a good movie, and I see the influence that Halloween has on it. Was maybe my point. But
it's funny you mentioned Beetlejuice because that's one of the kind of hallmark movies of my childhood period. I was never scared by it, I don't think, which is weird because it is kind of a deeply unsettling movie in some respects. But it's kind of one of the movies that made me the kind of self-described weirdo that I am, because I never thought Beetlejuice was a good person, but I always did the thing where you would like emulate him when he does like I've seen The Exorcist 137 times, that kind of bit where he's sort of like his just kind of monologuing like Michael Keaton's type of like ridiculous over the top monologuing. Like I loved that, and I loved Lydia. I mean, I've loved Winona Ryder my whole life. I loved that, and that kind of weird sort of aesthetic, like the colors and the green and the black and the white, and like when Barbara and whatever the hell Alec Baldwin's name is, like when they pull their faces apart, that kind of when they're trying to scare the Maitlands, or not the Maitlands, the whatever the people's names are. I'm terrible with character names, but like when they do that was sort of morbidly fascinating to me, I guess, as a kid. I watched so much stuff I probably should not have watched at a very young age.
Well, and to me, like whenever I talk about like my first horror movie / first like I was scared experience, it's Beetlejuice, and people look at me like I'm strange, and I'm like, well, I mean, I was 5, and I literally. Well,
no, I have plenty of friends that are just terrified of Beetlejuice. They will not watch it, and I'm like,
well, not now.
Okay, you're 20 years old. I'll take it. Okay.
I that's one of my favorite films now. Like it's definitely one that like it's and I probably because of Batman and being a Michael, like for me, Michael Keaton will always be my Batman.
Same.
Which is great to hear someone from the new generation say that, because most of y'all picked Christian Bale.
No, okay. Full disclosure, I cannot stand the Dark Knight movies. I really don't. Like, not that I'm not saying they're bad movies. I just am like, they're too dark. They're too gritty. Batman is a man that dresses up like a bat that has a thing called a batarang. And you expect me to look at this skinny, pasty white dude and compare him to like, because I love the kind of the kitschy ridiculousness of like the 90s, 80s Batman with like Tim Burton and like the Jack Nicholson Joker and the Jim Carrey Riddler and Danny DeVito's Penguin, where it's like so over the top and such a production that I'm like, cool, this is gritty and weird and I don't like it.
See, it's hearing you say that, I instantly think, oh, this is the type of person that enjoyed the Schumacher films, because
which ones were those? I don't remember. Was that the one with Val Kilmer?
That was Val Kilmer and George Clooney.
Okay. So I think the George Clooney one might have been my favorite because I really liked. No, not because of Clooney, because I really love Poison Ivy.
That is.
I have a deep love for Poison Ivy, and it started with that movie.
No,
but I'm like, I don't know, because they all kind of blend together in my head.
Well, so I recently rewatched the first 3 from that era because of the DC Universe app. When it launched in September, launched with all those original Batman titles. Well, yeah, original-ish Batman titles. And I, for the longest time, have been the guy that said, Batman and Batman Returns are awesome, and the other 2 are kind of garbage. I didn't watch the fourth one, which is, I guess, Batman and Robin.
Is
I
that
think.
Batman and Robin?
Yeah, I think that's the George Clooney one, is Batman and Robin. And Batman Returns, and Batman Forever are the other three. And Batman Forever is often lumped in with Batman and Robin because it's a Schumacher film. It's brighter than the other two. It's a little campier. It's more of a throwback almost to like the 66 Batman, but still darker than 66 Batman. And rewatching that movie, I actually have like a total respect for Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne, and like Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. I still think Tommy Lee Jones was just doing his impersonation of Jack Nicholson. But
like I lump those two together in my head anyway. So
yeah, but Jim Carrey's, I mean, has never been more Jim Carrey.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I actually have a total respect for that one. So I often wonder if I actually had it. I ran out of time. They cut it off at the end of September to watch those 4 Batman movies. But I do wonder if I sit down and watch Batman and Robin, if I would actually enjoy it. Because I actually enjoyed Batman Forever. It's clearly not a good one, but it's still enjoyable and whatnot.
Yeah.
But see, when it comes to the Nolan movies, I actually do enjoy them, and I do like the real worldness that they bring to it. And to me, they are more in line with Burton's Batman movies than the Schumacher Batman films. So like, it's just funny hearing that, because that to me sounds like a fan of Val Kilmer and George Clooney versus a Michael Keaton, because I would say, and this has been my comparison with Keaton and Bale, is that I feel like if you were to watch Michael Keaton in the role of Batman in Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, it would be great. If you watched Christian Bale play Batman and Batman Returns, it would be dog shit.
Yeah, I think for me, I lump all of those 80s and 90s Batman films together in my head. And like, again, it's my thing. I don't like dark and gritty movies. And I think I just didn't like Christian Bale. I think the only real connection that I actually have to the Dark Knight films is I think it was whatever the football game is in, I think it's Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. They filmed that in Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of my connection with it, is I remember the absolute hellscape that the city was for about 3 days when they filmed there, because they brought people into Heinz Field, which is the big football field in Pittsburgh, and they were filming there. And like anybody that wanted to could come and be extras. So the city was just gridlocked for like 3 days. And that's all I remember. And I was like kind of out of my mom and my aunt and I believe my grandmother actually got stuck in traffic for like 6 hours. It was some ridiculous amount of time stuck in traffic because they were trying to go to this thing. So I just hold this like resentment for Dark Knight Rises because of that.
To be fair,
but like we've also had like a ridiculous amount of movies filmed in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
well, to be fair, The Dark Knight Rises is the worst of those 3 movies.
That's unsurprising considering that it was filmed in Pittsburgh.
Well, I don't think that's a slight on Pittsburgh.
Roasting my own hometown.
That's fine. I mean, I too, as a Philadelphian, can say Pittsburgh is the worst, but that's
I forgot that we're opposing. A couple of people from opposite ends of the state.
Here, I actually do love Pittsburgh, and this is why. Is I used to wrestle, like WWE style wrestling, and I started in the backyard, and we eventually went pro, and I got trained and whatnot. And my gimmick was my name was Steel Tip, which I don't know why, but because of that, he was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I love that.
And so, especially when we went pro, I had to turn it to an 11 to as a heel, as a bad guy. To insult the crowd, which meant at the time having my hometown team for real not ever winning a championship here in Philadelphia, and then having my fake home team, the Steelers, be like the city of champions, and I cut so many promos that was attacking Philadelphia and being pro Pittsburgh, but I actually do love Pittsburgh. It is like.
Yeah,
I enjoy going out there.
Yeah, it's weird because like my mother's from Pittsburgh, or the Pittsburgh area, because I'm not from in the city. I'm from like an hour outside. But so my mother's from Pittsburgh, and my dad lives in Pittsburgh now, but he's from Philly. He grew up in Philly. So it's funny because my mother kind of has converted him to like a quote unquote like Pittsburgh person because like he likes the Penguins now. And my mother, this is my favorite story. She like, my dad used to say water instead of water, and my mother like forced him to stop saying it like that.
I actually, it's hard to believe that. And I mean, if he's a Penguins fan, he's a hockey fan, but it's hard. I don't know. He's not a big hockey fan if he can easily give up on the Flyers. And
well, I mean, I think it took from the time they got married in the mid '80s until I was born in '98. So that's still, I don't think there's anything that could convince me to and the same to be because I am a Steelers fan, but it's not the same equivalent because they're in different conferences. That would be like me moving to New York and someone saying you're a Giants fan now, because the Eagles and Giants are rivals, just like the Flyers and Penguins are. So that's wild to me. You doubt my mother's like will. You doubt it. Like, my mom is a very strong-willed person, but like, I mean, and I don't really have a say in this because I have never been a sports person. I do not particularly care. I mean, I vaguely follow the Penguins sometimes, like I've been to a couple of games with my family, but largely I was a theater nerd growing up. So I was kind of the football players were at one end of the lunchroom and I was with the geeks at the other kind of end, so I was very much a separate thing, even though the rest of my family is so into sports. And I'm like, and my brother's kind of an artist and an engineer, and I am a writer and a like a video production person. We're here like, hi, we're the artists, the only ones that don't play sports.
Let's watch your sports ball.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
go do the touchdown. I don't know.
I see. I float in this weird world of being part of like both sides of that, and then, but always never like in school, never being part of like the jocks because I never played it, and I was very much a nerd in school. But I always enjoy, specifically football. I've always been a football fan, but I never sat with those guys. They were all assholes. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had any interest in anything that wasn't sports, it was like, cool, you're weird. And now as a 20-year-old, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm weird. What you gonna do about it?
But I don't think that's the case for high schoolers today. At least I'm sure there's some sort of divide, but I don't think it's the same because we live in a world now where you can watch a commercial of a dude asking a girl out with an R2D2.
I think the nerd jock divide is definitely, and I mean, even growing up for me, I don't think it was as bad as like you see it in like 80s movies. I mean, there definitely was still issues. I definitely did suffer from a lot of bullying in middle school and high school, but like now it's like everybody's seen a Marvel movie. It's not, you're not special or you're not a freak for liking comic books, or you're not a freak for being into this weird niche thing, because everybody's got their weird niche thing. Everybody's got their podcast about something, Yeah,
I think unfortunately now bullying is more about serious matters versus about you liking Spider-Man. But that's a whole nother issue and a whole other podcast.
That's another rack to overturn on a different day.
But we've not talked about anything that you do / whether professionally or as a hobby. We've just talked pop culture for the whole time. So
which I mean, I'm willing to do that.
Well, that's so and this the tangents we went on.
I don't know where that went.
I brought up the Arrow show. I brought up DC. The DC Universe app brought that all up.
Yes, it did.
Yes. I got that very specifically for Titans. And some of the original.
Which I have
program.
not watched yet.
It's great. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's not part of the rest of the Berlanti verse with Arrow and whatnot. But that's where I think DC does succeed, is in their small screen stuff. I think and I guess even now Marvel's finding success in that, but that's only recent. Like DC has always found success with their small screen endeavors dating back to Smallville and probably further back.
I think my problem is I'm like, I wanted to watch Titans. I have a bad habit of just either not, because I'm like 3 weeks behind on Doctor Who now,
Yeah,
but
same.
because I'll just start things and then not finish them. Like the only thing I'm committed to right now, and the only reason I'm committed to it is because a friend and I are watching it, is I started watching Mr. Robot.
Mm-hmm.
And we really only started watching it because Rami Malek's in it, because I've followed him since he was in Night at the Museum when I was 8. So like I have a very bad habit of not committing to finishing TV shows. So I'm like, oh, I'll start it and then just never ever get around to it.
Well, that's why that's why you're a streaming generation.
Yes, I am.
And that's the problem that Titans has, is that it's a weekly release versus everything else that you can watch on streaming services is usually at least on Netflix, it's usually all binge worthy.
We had a point we were gonna walk away from DC and we didn't.
Yeah, no. We can walk away now, though. I had to close.
I was just like, we said we were going to go away and then we came right back.
Yeah. Well, it's because I had to close the loop. I had to figure out the tangent.
Close the loop. I feel like that's a reference to something and I don't know what it is.
It might be. I'm not purposely making a reference to anything.
I don't know.
So, but yeah, you, so writer, photographer, so what are you going to school for specifically? Audio, video?
So I am going to school. My major is specifically mass communications. We have a communications department in general, and it is kind of split into 2 different sort of facets. You have corporate communications, which is PR and marketing, and mass communications, which is basically an umbrella term for they teach us everything. They teach us audio, they teach us video, they teach us broadcast writing, they teach us print writing. It's basically anything you need to know to be a journalist, or even anybody working in media, kind of period, in 2018. So I have taken classes, like currently I'm taking a class in kind of broadcast news writing and production. So I've been making news packages and I've been writing scripts for what would go into like a live television broadcast. I took an audio production class last semester. Right now I'm taking like a research class. But so it's a lot of just, it's kind of covering all the bases, so it's not specifically any one thing, which for me, I think that's a good thing, because I don't exactly know what I want to do yet as an adult, because I still have another year and a half before I graduate college. So it's kind of nice to know that I have kind of a hand in each of the kind of popcorn bowls, to say the least. I think it's nice because I'm not good at any one particular thing, but I can do all of them, which is like, cool, I'll learn on the job and get better at it when that happens.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I dropped out of school because of, I was going to school for IT, and I dropped out to work in IT. But I actually like hate IT, and this is what, like, if I can make money off this, that's the dream. Is sitting around talking.
Yeah, make money off podcasting.
Yeah, or well, very specifically, make money off talking about Batman. Is that's the dream. But yeah, podcasting, and it's so is that what they're teaching now, like in audio production, I guess?
Partially, I think because I have taken actual audio production classes. Like, I could easily set up a professional style like podcast recording if I wanted to, because we have these facilities here. Like, I'm in a library study room right now, but like, we have a recording studio, we have a whole audio board, and I've been doing radio too. So like, they do teach us these things, and they do say you can apply this to podcasts or kind of audio dramas like Big Finish and companies like that do, or you can do this for like radio recordings for like NPR. They teach us, like, my audio production taught us how to do like commercials and like bits, like stories that you would hear on NPR radio, that kind of thing, that are pre-recorded and then just played on air. That kind of thing.
That's the dream course. Like, I messed up going to school.
Yeah, I got lucky. I think I initially wanted to be a theater major. My parents were like, no, because you will never, ever, ever get a job. And then I said I wanted to do communications because I knew I was good at writing, and I am good at writing. And so I know one of my parents was not exactly enthusiastic about it, but I did it anyway because I knew that I was like, I'm not good at anything else. I am not particularly good at science. I am god awful at math. And so like, I knew that writing was my good thing, and I kind of went into that, and I've had rough classes, but I have loved this major since I started, and I could not have picked anything else that kind of better suits me as kind of a creative person who doesn't know what the hell she wants to do.
Well, I think most creative people they don't know what they want to do, or at least I'm speaking from experience, because I was like 25 when I was like, oh, you know what? I want to make a film. Like, that's what I want to do. And then I just have not acted on it because podcasting sucks up my entire life. But yeah, I feel like everyone that I know that's creative, for the most part, they either knew what they wanted to do so hard, that's what they focused on. They focused on the one thing, or they're like me, and it's like, let me do 75 projects at once, and maybe one of them will work. Which is
I think that's how it works.
Definitely. That's almost like I take a lot from Kevin Smith. Like, that's the guy that I kind of grew up on, as far as like, hey, and I didn't even realize I wanted to be a filmmaker until I was 25, and I was already a fan of Kevin Smith for like at least 5 to 10 years at that point.
Yeah, actually, I have a friend that I went to high school with that actually got to work with Kevin Smith, because she goes to Ringling Art and Design College down in Florida, and she worked, I believe, props on one of his films. So she keeps posting these pictures on Facebook and on Instagram of like her and her crew with him, and I'm like, I hate you so much.
It's probably his Killjoy movie that he's doing.
I think it was that,
which was supposed to be it was supposed to be his Krampus movie. That he was going to do like an anthology film about Krampus, but because of all the Krampus movies that have come out lately, he retooled it to Killjoy. Yes, I know way too much about Kevin Smith.
I know nothing, so.
Well, you're what, 20?
20.
Yeah, so yes. I mean, really, you should just be learning about Kevin Smith now.
I feel like that's where kind of all of my friends are going with like the movies that they're getting into, and I kind of veered off the other fork in the road and went to the weird kind of foreign language films. I have watched a lot of Spanish language films in the last year and a half.
Yes, I've only watched one foreign film, and that is Train to Busan.
Okay.
Which
I was waiting for you to say like other things of like something I read. I know Train to Busan, but like the one that hits everybody that they're like, oh, I've seen that. It's like Y tu mama también, which is this like Spanish film. Don't watch it. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, because it's got Diego Luna in it, who was in Rogue One.
Okay.
And so that's why I watched it. Gotcha. Oh my God. That was the first Spanish language film I ever watched, and it was a mistake. It's a good movie, but it's like, what am I watching?
I generally don't watch foreign films because I'm real lazy and don't want to read while I'm watching.
Don't want to read subtitles, yeah.
But someone recommended Train to Busan because it's like an incredible unique zombie film. And
is that the one with the guy from The Walking Dead in it? Seeing that?
No. He looks like the dude.
Okay, because I feel like every time I see the poster, it looks like him.
Yeah. Or
no, they were talking about doing an English language remake with him in it. That's what I'm.
I don't know if I didn't hear that he was going to be in it, but totally makes sense because he does look like the main character that's in in Train to Busan.
Which, like, why do we need an English language remake? Just read the subtitles. But that's a whole other argument.
Yeah, I see that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, and I think it's because it used to. I used to get real bothered by like remakes and stuff, and not necessarily like American remakes of foreign films, but very specifically like American remakes of American films that don't need to be remade. I guess I still have an issue with it to a degree, but I've tried to get over it. And like one of the big takeaways that I've tried to really in the last few years take away from Kevin Smith is like just this mega positive outlook on life, which is why I will give most of anything a chance. And at the end of the day, like whether or not I like the all-female Ghostbusters movie or not, I still have the one that I grew up on. It's still there. It didn't disappear from my DVD shelf. You know, it's and it's still as good as it was back then. So I try not to get bent out of that stuff. I totally understand why people do, because I used to do it myself. But I honestly would love to see an American like remake of Train to Tucson or whatever.
Train to Tucson.
You know,
I love it.
Because I think that there's I just think the film and the story is so good, and as long as if they kind of keep true to what they were telling in that story, that story deserves to be told on a grander scale than it was. And I loved it. I loved it a lot. And if it's not like a scary zombie movie, it's just like one of those heartwarming ones.
I'll have to check that out because I'm not good with zombie films because it kind of freaked me out. But like I've heard good things about Train to Busan. I mean, there's so many foreign films that I need to get to that I keep getting distracted by rewatching the same like 4 garbage movies. I will watch movies that I'm like, I know this is not a good movie, but I am enjoying it. Like I watched for the first time the other day, I watched The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai with my mom, and I was just sitting there going, I have no idea what's happening, but this is ridiculous and amazing.
I've never watched that. I want to watch it simply because
my mom was like roasting me because I kept going, what's happening? And she's like, just watch it. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it. It's fine.
Wait, Jeff Goldblum is in that?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for like he's barely, like he's not really a main character or anything, but he kind of like shows up. My mom's like, do you know who that is? And I was like, that's Jeff Goldblum. Why is he here?
See, now I have I wanted to watch it because Kevin Smith was going to be the showrunner of the TV version of that. But now I have more reason to watch it because
now I'm glad that I've discovered that both of us have a love for Jeff Goldblum.
Oh God, yeah.
Because that goes back to me being like 4 years old and loving Jurassic Park. I have Life Finds a Way tattooed on my side.
That's all. See, I'm a Jurassic Park fan. I'm not a get it tattooed on my body fan of Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, Jurassic Park is one of, like, Beetlejuice is definitely like a seminal movie for me. Like, sure. I was obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid, and so that was my movie. And I got Life Finds a Way as like a sort of philosophical thing or whatever as well. But I think I just grew up really loving it and really loving dinosaurs. And fun fact, Jeff Goldblum is the first celebrity crush I ever remember having.
Oh my God, it's so weird and no, not because that's my first celebrity crush too, but it's weird because like the generational difference, and in that, like mine, I distinctly remember my first celebrity crush being Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia.
Okay, that's very fair. Which is a very fair one. Which is
weird because really, like that movie is from just a slightly older generation than myself. We kind of discussed this off air numerous times, but like we are similar with Star Wars in the sense like I grew up in between the shitty prequels and the original trilogy, and you kind of like as the prequels were ending, right? Or are you officially in between?
Yeah, I think I was born so episode 1 came out in 99.
Okay,
I think so. I think I was a year old when that came out. So like, growing up, I was kind of in the generation where Star Wars was like the big thing again, because I know episode 3 came out in like 2005, so I was about 7 and my brother was about 4, and so like we had like you could readily buy like plastic lightsabers, and so we had those around the house, and like I didn't watch a single Star Wars movie until I was 17, but like I knew who Princess Leia was, I knew Jabba the Hutt, I knew Chewbacca, like I knew all the characters, and I knew Luke, I am your father, you know those, or Luke, I am your Luke. No, I am your father. That's the actual line. But like I knew all of that, and so I kind of grew up knowing it, but not really watching it. But I idolized Princess Leia because I was like, I like her.
Yeah.
Because I knew the get like into the garbage chute flyboy. That was like the one scene I'd seen. So I like kind of grew up idolizing her. But yeah, I grew up kind of in a weird sort of in between time, and then when they announced the new Star Wars, everybody was like, oh my God, and I was like, oh wait, no, I've never actually watched Star Wars. Holy shit.
I'm a garbage person. No,
yeah, that was I think the order that I watched them in actually was like the first 45 minutes of 4, about 10 minutes before we left for the movie theater to see 7, and then 7, 1, 2, 3, rest of 4, 5, 6, Rogue One, 8.
Wow. That's not even like the good machete order.
It's not, and I don't care.
That's a weird order.
Like, I watched the prequels first because I was in love with Ewan McGregor in high school.
And I'll say, like, as much as, and I do not give those movies a fair chance either, because I have not gone back to rewatch them. And I stand by the fact that I will hate episode 1. There's nothing, I think, and here's why. Topher Grace put it best. I think it was Topher Grace. Somebody put it best. Is anything important that happens in that first movie is repeated in episode 2. So everything else is bullshit in that movie. It's just
all I remember from that movie is the pod racing.
And not important. Like
I like no, wait. No, I don't even remember. I remember like Amidala's outfit, and that's it. That's all I remember from the prequels is her outfits, because that's all that matters.
All I remember from the prequels is kind of liking the third one because it was a little darker and we got Darth Vader. But ultimately, I need to go back and rewatch them because I should give them a fair shot, especially in in a post world where Kev is Mr. Positivity for everything.
Yeah, I think for me, I am very much, I will definitely watch movies where I'm like, I know this is garbage, but I still love it. And I think that's where I am with the prequels, where I'm like, it doesn't have to be a good movie. It's just 2 hours of me. There's lightsabers. That's all I care about.
Well, and for a whole generation of kids, that was, probably right before you. And after me, that's who those movies are for. Like, there's a bunch of kids who grew up saying my trilogy is episodes 1 through 3. Fuck your original trilogy; they're garbage. These are movies for kids. It's space wars, So like,
exactly. It is a space opera.
But it is. I don't know. I love it all.
I think me too. I think there's not. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, it's probably Rogue One. But like, I love the Star Wars kind of canon as a whole, which is also a thing that I get when which is why I also am kind of like perturbed when people do the what do you like more, Star Wars or Star Trek, and people get into arguments about it, because I'm like, I had plastic lightsabers when I was a child, but I also had a tiny ornament on my Christmas tree that was the USS Enterprise that played the Star Trek theme song, and I loved both of them equally. Yeah, where it's because I'm in such an in-between generation where both of them were relevant. That it's like, why do I have to pick one?
And I'm from that same, well, not that same generation. I'm from a similar generation where there only Star Wars that existed when I was a kid was the original trilogy and the Christmas special, or holiday special, and then there was like Star Trek, the next generation. And I, when I talk, those two franchises, I am very much a Star Wars person because that's just what I prefer. I actually am not a huge fan of Star Trek, but that's not because I'm a Star Wars fan. It's because I just never got into it. Like, I'm actually a pretty bad geek / sci-fi nerd because I'm not so as much as I love Star Wars and whatnot, like my trilogy, the movies that I watched and wore out as a kid was the Back to the Future films.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely.
There was a summer that went by where I would on Monday watch the first one, on Tuesday watch the second one, on Wednesday watch the third one, and then Thursday I would repeat that order. And I watched them every day. And it's amazing that I don't have anything memorized from those movies, probably because I took chair shots to the head as a teenager. But I did. Those movies were that and Indiana Jones are my trilogies. Versus
I think.
Star Wars.
I grew up with those too. I think I don't think I ever had one. Jurassic Park was my thing that I was obsessed with, but I very much was exposed to all of the 80s movies. Mm-hmm. Back to the Future was definitely a big one, I think, because I'm time travel has definitely been a thing that I've always been obsessed with, and Indiana Jones too, I think, because I always liked the sort of explorer adventure type of vibe. My friends and I will get in arguments my female friends and I will get in arguments as to which is the most attractive version of Harrison Ford, and it is a hill that I will die on that Indiana Jones is the answer to that question.
Okay, well, what are the options?
It's the argument that I remember getting into with my mom, my best friend, my brother, and my mom, my best friend, and my brother in Disney World was it was Star Wars, Indiana Jones. My mom brought up Air Force One for some reason, and Blade Runner. Okay. I don't know why my mom brought up Air Force One, but she did. But it was those that Blade Runner, Indy, and Star Wars.
I feel like Blade Runner that's off right away. I actually very much I've heard the Air Force One
my
thing
mom,
before.
That's the older generation version of it.
I want to say we did. I did a live show in New York the weekend of New York Comic Con 2 years ago in 2016. and we had I think you actually, I don't know how you know her, but I think you saw her at Wizard World. But Rachel Leishman, yeah, she was a guest for our live show up in New York, and I think she's the one that told me about like her obsession with Harrison Ford because of Air Force One.
Yes, she has a whole podcast about Harrison Ford.
Yeah, which is fantastic. But so I can see why that version of Harrison Ford is in the running, because that's probably one of my favorite like non-franchise Harrison Ford movies, is Air Force One. But I would also have to nix that from the list. But probably not. I would probably nix Han Solo first.
Yeah. I feel like he's just like, I don't know. He just is not like. It's the hair. I feel like the weird 70s mullet that every dude had.
Yeah. But I see. I like that character. Like that's the character that I would like. So. Talking like Star Wars canon and just loving that. I also love a lot of the non-canon stuff, very specifically the unofficial. There's this podcast called Campaign, which is a long form actual play role playing podcast.
So like D&D, but for Star Wars.
Well, it started off and now they're doing another story that has nothing to do with Star Wars. But the first several years of it takes place in the Star Wars universe. 5 years, I think. No, I think the Skywalker kids are 5. So Luke and Leia are 5 years old. So it takes place, I guess, like right after. I guess it takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, if my math is correct. And it's just like this lovable goofball group of people that live in the Star Wars universe that somehow end up with the plans for the murder ball, and
plans for the murder ball.
and it's just high. And what, to their credit, there are a bunch of like Chicago improvers too, so that's why it's. I think if you if you can listen to actual play podcasts, it's one of the best out there. And if you like Star Wars, like it is. Very specifically one of my loves of like non-Star Wars canon, because or I guess Star Wars, like whatever, it's Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars, and it's it's something that I listened to when I was going through losing my uncle to cancer a couple of years ago, and listening to that like was like the hour of like smiling and laughing, and still kept me thinking of my uncle because he's the one that I first watched Star Wars with. But it's just so funny. And like, if you can, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of Star Wars, even if you don't like D&D, you'll love this. I think that's like always my recommendation for like people that are looking for a new podcast. Like, don't listen to this garbage show that I do. Listen to Campaign. It is wonderful.
Yeah. I've gotten so many recommendations for those like actual play, like, I get a lot of recommendations for like the Adventure Zone, that kind of thing. So I'm like, I feel like Star Wars, I'm more apt to get into listening to that because I'm like, cool, I know the universe of this. Yeah. And I can sort of absorb things. I only pay attention to select things about Star Wars, but like I know enough.
And honestly, like that show there's only one person on it, I think, maybe two, that are like super Star Wars nerds. The other 3 people, or 2 or 3 people, are like just fans of the movies and they just know enough to be dangerous. And it's so much fun. The one guy plays this character called Tris Valentine, and he's like the I don't know if idiotic version of Han Solo makes sense, but he's like the Han Solo of the group, and he's just so lovable and goofy and like silly and kind of like he's kind of like Captain Jack Harkness, but like an asshole,
Isn't Harkness already an asshole?
Yeah, but this is
more of an asshole.
Yeah, I know. I highly recommend. Like, you won't stop laughing. I think there's just so much to love about that show.
That sounds fantastic. But now that you've brought up Jack Harkness, I'm having like war flashbacks to watching Torchwood. Like, because nobody's talked to me about like Harkness in like even in like a Doctor Who context in years, and I was obsessed with Torchwood in high school.
Yeah.
That was my thing in the 9th grade. I should not have been watching Torchwood in the 9th grade. I was 13. It was a terrible choice. Did I still watch it? Yes. Do I still watch it now? Also, yes. Is it great? No. Do I still love it? Yes.
I think I loved Torchwood and I love that character. Like, I think the biggest mistake that Doctor Who has done since, I guess, the Matt Smith era is not bring him back ever. Like,
I feel like it's just because John Barrowman is so busy because he's on like Arrow now, and he's doing some reality show right now.
Yeah, but he's 100% said like, yeah, guys, let's do Torchwood. Like, let's. He wants to go back.
I know he does.
Do it in a heartbeat.
Big Finish Productions is like the audio production company that does like audio dramas. They do kind of radio plays, and he's done a bunch for them for Torchwood, which are really good. If you haven't listened to Big Finish, go check them out. You can get really, really great stories in it. It's like listening to a podcast, but like with an actual story, and like it's like watching TV and not looking at the screen. It's great. But yeah, he's done a bunch for that, and I bought between listening to the 8th Doctor ones because I'm a garbage baby and that's the Doctor I like best, and Torchwood, and they're really, really good.
I love, and like, for me, I feel like it's still so unfinished, explaining how he becomes the face of Bo. Like,
it's like, I feel like it's just intentional ambiguity at this point. It's like, you're never going to find out. Like, write all the fan fiction you want. We're never going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, oh God, I'm talking about it now. Like, I just want to go back and start rewatching the 10th Doctor era of Doctor Who.
I have not watched that in ages. I'm 3 weeks behind on Jodie's stuff right now.
Yeah. I think I'm 2 weeks behind, and that's not going to happen. I'm not going to catch up because I got PAX Unplugged this weekend. But it's hard to keep up with everything. But
it is.
Doctor Who is one of those shows where it took me forever to get on board with it. Like, I had my friends are huge fans of it from they used to be in this band called Robots and Race Cars, and they told me to watch it, and I started watching it on I guess Netflix with I guess Rose was the first one from the rebooted series, and I turned it off halfway through. I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah, Rose is not a good episode. It's just not a good episode.
I do like that episode, and I do have a lot of fun watching it. It just took me 3 times to finally get into it. And then I still, for the longest time, I would say Chris Eccleston was my favorite Doctor. We just didn't get enough of him. But I eventually had to give that up for David Tennant, because David Tennant's just awesome. And it took me a while to get on board with Matt Smith. And then Peter Capaldi was I really liked. And I really like Jodie. I think she does a great.
Yeah, I love Jodie. I started with... My mom tossed me, because my stepfather's British, so he got my mom to start watching it when they were dating, and then my mom kind of tossed me directly in the middle. She didn't start me with 9. She started me with Blink, which is the Weeping Angel episode from the 10th Doctor era. That was my first one, and then we kind of just jumped around, and we would pick the ones that sounded the most interesting. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I got into it. So I kind of never really got attached to one Doctor per se, and then I started watching Matt Smith, and that was kind of where I started watching it linearly. But yeah, I was really, really into it in high school, and then the community is garbage, so I fell out of it for a long time, and then I got back into it, kind of started watching it when my family was watching it, like when Capaldi was a thing, and then my best friend Katie really got me back into it because she loves the 8th Doctor, who's Paul McGann, who only got one really shitty TV movie, but does all these wonderful audio plays for Big Finish. And so that's kind of where I really got dragged back under, was listening to those audio plays and really remembering why I liked the character so much and why I kind of like the weird whimsicalness of this dude, or this person now, because gender is a construct, that can just drag people across kind of time and space and do whatever. And that, I definitely get a lot of that in Jodie. I get a lot of the whimsicalness of just we can do whatever we want. Let's just do it and help people in the process. And I get a lot of that from her. And I think that's why I like her. And I'm sad. Usually when I get behind on a TV show, I'm like, I'll catch up later. But I'm genuinely upset that I have not been able to watch her stuff, because I'm like, you're good at this. Yeah. I like you. I am actively invested in your character. I have not been actively invested in a character since I watched David Tennant regenerate years ago. So it's exciting that I'm excited again.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way with Jodie. It's just having to. I watch too much, and then I also have to like catch up on everything that I want to do creatively as well, and whatnot. So we deviated again.
Yeah, we did. That's what this whole podcast is going to be. It's just one big deviation.
To be fair, that's like the elevator pitch of this show is like, well, it's long form conversation. We talk about your thing, but we're probably going to talk about Batman and Doctor Who.
Always Batman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I won't. That's a hill I'll die on.
Fair.
Batman is, to me, it's funny. I think this still stands true today. But like, I sat down one day and thought about it. I may have even wrote a blog piece years ago on this, but I feel like there's like several, and this is from, I should say, the male perspective. There's several heroes I think that like you can identify with when you're growing up. Like as a kid, the first hero I loved was Wolverine. Like he was the guy I was obsessed with because like he's cool and he's like bad, but like he's good. And then it's Spider-Man. But no, I've reversed that. I'm sorry. It's Spider-Man first because like he's a kid. I'm a kid. And he's innocent. Like he's actually a good guy. And then you get to Wolverine when you're like a teenager because you want to rebel and whatnot. And that's kind of feels like Wolverine. Then it gets to for me, at least, as a young, late teenager, young adult, it gets to Captain America because like, go America, Team America. And then if it ends up with Batman because Batman is the best. And I can be Batman. I can't be Spider-Man. I can't. If I get bitten by a radioactive spider, I'm going to die.
Try to be Spider-Man.
But you'll
you
die from
make web
poisoning.
shooters. That's possible.
But not, trust me, there was a time where I did a lot of research on how you make spider webbing, and it's just not possible to make that kind of spider webbing.
I think it's funny that you mention all of those because as a kid, Wolverine, X-Men in general, Spider-Man, and Captain America were like the movies that were coming out when I was little. So those definitely had a big influence on me. Like the first Spider-Man that was my Spider-Man was Tobey Maguire. That was because those, and my brother for years was obsessed with Spider-Man. I'm talking had the comforter, had the wallpaper, had this little clock that looked like the top of a building that had Spider-Man sitting on top of it. And if you pressed a button, it played that old like Spider-Man. It would play that. We still have that. He was obsessed. So Spider-Man was definitely one of the central sort of superheroes that I grew up loving, and X-Men as well, because X-Men came out the first X-Men came out when I was 2, and my mother is in love with Hugh Jackman, so we watched those growing up, and those became a big part of kind of influencing me as a kid. I don't think I so much like Wolverine. I wanted to be Mystique because I thought she was a badass.
Yeah, well, yeah, and continues to be in like. I feel like definitely more so, I think, in like this new era of X-Men movies because she gets more screen time.
I don't like Jennifer Lawrence, and it makes me sad that that's who's playing Mystique. Not that she's a bad actress. I'm just like, I'm sad. You could have picked somebody better.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I usually don't have a lot of opinion because it's
not that I don't. Her, but
I don't necessarily I like the newer X-Men movies, but they're not my X-Men. Like I very specifically remember going to the theater, riding my bike like 1.5 miles to the theater. And to this day is probably the original X-Men movie is probably the only movie I've seen in theater 10 to 15 times.
Oh my God.
And
my record's 5.
To be fair, movies were like $3 back then.
Yeah.
Maybe $4. So like it was actually economical to do. And now I can do it because of A-list, but it's still, I don't see it. At most I'll see a movie maybe 2 or 3 times because I fall asleep at 10:45 at night in the middle of a movie. Because I'm an old man.
Same. It's 12:15 right now, and this is the latest I've been up doing things in like months because I'm an old woman on the inside.
Well, and I know we do have to wrap soon so that you don't get kicked out.
I mean, I have 45 more minutes. We're fine.
Oh, okay.
I have till 1. I want to get out of here like 12:50 so that I can get, because I'm on the top floor of the building, so that I can get down the stairs and out the door before they lock it. But I'm sure they'll come around and be like, get out of here. I don't care what you're doing.
What are you doing? Are you doing a podcast in the library?
I mean, I'm in like the one silent kind of, because this is like soundproofed, because my roommate has to get up in about 7 hours for her student teaching placement. So I was like, I'm going to go to the library.
I recently found out, as someone who's been like not like putting off video production because like I don't have anywhere to do it, that our local library has a what they call a one-button studio where I don't.
Oh, we have one of those in the basement.
So okay, tell me what is, I don't know if it's gonna be the same thing, but what is a one-button studio? Like, how big is it?
I have never been in the one here because we have the production studios in my comm department in our building. But I believe what it is that it's very easy to use. It's like the equipment is already set up.
Yeah.
I believe that's how it is. I'm not sure because I was like, I'm just the one that has to friggin' one-man jury rig an entire video shoot by myself for projects anyway. So I'm like, I don't even need to use that because I know how to use the big cameras.
Yeah, it's something that I discovered, and it's more so for the use of the green screen, because like I can hook up my phone and record 4K video with that if I really want nice video, and then I can figure I can get I have the audio equipment to record nice audio with my shotgun mic and whatnot, so I can do all that if I really wanted to. It's the idea of doing something a little bit more like produced with a green screen that I don't have the ability to do. And so I found it today because doing something for my day job, I somehow ended up down the rabbit hole of the county's library website, and I was like, wait, one button studio, what is this? And 100% me and my business partner are going to go check that out so that we can start doing stupid stuff for YouTube, in addition to the stupid stuff I do for podcasting.
That makes sense.
And just one more thing to add to the list of things that will never get done.
Of course. Never stop going.
Yes. So let's see, where do we leave off with you before Doctor Who and time travel?
Literally, I don't even remember.
You're so don't know. You're mass communication major. Don't know what you're doing, but you are. You do photography as well. So
I do,
and you kind of lump that together with, at least for when you do press, with your writing.
Yes, correct.
And so is Wizard World the only to kind of bring it full circle? Is Wizard World the only event you've done press at?
Yes, as of now, because there are not a lot of cons in my area that that offer press. Because I have Steel City Con, which is the local one in Pittsburgh, but they don't offer press because they already have their kind of permanent press people, and I don't have the money or the funds to really travel. I went to Long Island Geek Con a couple of weeks ago, but I just went as kind of an attendee, and I did that, but like there's not many places that I can go easily as a college student who doesn't have a ton of money. Like I can't go to like Dragon Con in Atlanta because I can't afford a hotel, so I can't apply to press for a lot of these things. Whereas like the other people that work at Temple of Geek go to a lot of cons for press because there's a ton in California. But when you live in a tiny little college town outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania, there's not really that many places. So yeah, Wizard World's the only serious one I've ever done. And I think it was kind of just like getting launched out of the frying pan and directly into the fire, which I think was a good thing, because it was like, I know how to do nothing, but now I kind of know how this works, and I know what a press pit is, and I know what permissions I have and what I don't. And it's kind of, and I feel like that's just kind of how media works in general, is that they can teach you enough, they can teach you a lot in the classroom, they can teach you Associated Press style, they can teach you how to edit a video, but you're not really gonna learn until you're in the fire and you have a deadline.
Well, and it's funny because this is literally coming full circle, because I remember I went on some tangent about Keystone, and then I never finished that thought, because like at Keystone, I went upstairs to the press room, which was a very awkward very small room with a bunch of people sitting at a table. And I literally did that gif of Homer Simpson backing out into the bush.
The bushes. Yep.
Because I walked up there and then I saw how awkward it was. And I was like, oh, there's my phone not ringing. Let me go on my phone, just back away. And it was incredibly awkward. And I didn't like it. Like none of the panels did I ever feel like there was like a friendly press area that I could go to get good audio.
Yeah, I feel like because Keystone was that was like the first year they were doing it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like press is the last thing you figure out because it's like these are a bunch of people coming from the outside. They are outsiders. We don't like them because people tend to shy away from journalisms or journalists. Journalisms, that's a word. That's totally a word.
To be fair,
I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning.
To be fair, though, these people are also the same people that put on New York Comic Con. So,
oh my God, oh Jesus.
Yeah, Reed Pop. They do a lot of cons. They do New York. They do now Keystone, and they also have a hand in PAX Unplugged that's happening tomorrow in the Philly area.
Oh wow.
Which is like, so I'm also doing press for PAX Unplugged, and like this is the first Keystone. I got a couple emails. One of the most exciting things to come from Keystone is someone that we've mentioned tonight. I don't want to announce it yet because it has not happened yet. It had to be rescheduled and there's just no date yet. So I don't want to officially announce it, but someone that we've mentioned tonight through Keystone I got hooked up with an interview with for like a quick 20-minute phoner. And I was amazing. Big deal for me, at least. So I'm hoping to make that still happen. But like very specifically with this PAX Unplugged, like I've never gotten so many emails in my life about something. And I literally got press passes. Yeah, I'm going to write a blog about it, but like, I just want to go play games.
Really. That was kind of my experience with Wizard World was like, I'm doing press, but TOG has such like kind of minimal press expectations that I was like, so I'm just going to shop and stare at celebrities all weekend. Like it didn't really feel like a job. Like it's so funny if you like, cause I didn't do interviews or anything because I was a tiny nervous child who was afraid to try to email people to set up interviews. But so like pretty much the only thing I really like, the proudest thing that I have out of that is if you look at like my Instagram for my photography, it's like normal people, cosplay photography, con photography, and then just like 6 or so photos of Sebastian Stan's face that I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And that was my accomplishment because I remember I went into his panel and I was sitting kind of towards the back of the room actually with people that I had met because I didn't know the press pit was a thing. And I was sitting there and then I saw kind of photographers sort of walking towards the front and I just went, I'm gonna go see what they're, and I just yeeted myself up to the front and I was like, there's a press pit here, I can be here. I was so excited. I was like I was on my stomach on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was just so excited that was a thing. And so those photos are definitely kind of a milestone for me. I mean, I could go back and like re-edit those and make them look much better now because in the 6 months since Wizard World I've gotten much better, but it's just that was my milestone for me was like, these are my first ever press pit photos. Oh my God.
Yeah, I see the whole floor, and it's probably because I'm not like I have no desire to do the photo part of it. Like I just want to sit there and enjoy it, and then write about it, and then never post it because I'm a garbage human, like I did with Keystone.
Oh yeah, I have literally thousands of photos from Wizard World that I haven't even edited because I'm just like, because I went to Wizard World and then I immediately went to Ireland.
Yes.
So I have about 10,000 photos that are just sitting unedited because I did not have the time to do all of them.
Now that's I literally have like so many drafted posts about like here's this panel I did and whatnot. So I'm trying to attack it very differently for PAX Unplugged so that I can make it manageable and just write about the day. And then I'm trying to record a lot while I'm there so that I can actually just post it as a podcast because that's much easier than sitting down and writing words like an adult human.
Like an adult human.
Yeah.
That's a mood.
Yeah. Oh God.
Is that the thing that was that the phrase we were like, you have no idea what that means when I said big mood?
Yeah. And I see it all the time now. And I still am like, I don't like, I can never say it because I don't know. I will never use it in the right context.
The best way I can explain it is that when you like somebody says something that you really like kind of understand and you're like, I know how you feel. Like I feel the exact same way. It's like big mood. And I like, that's the only way I can explain it. And like, because for me, I learn slang kind of through context clues, so I don't really ever know what it actually means.
But see,
and you are the first person to ever kind of, when I use a slang phrase, be like, I have no idea what the hell that means, other than my mom, who I taught to dab a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, well, now posting me in the same group as a parental unit of my guest.
I'm not putting you in the same group as a parental unit. I'm just saying that you are like the only person that like I've had relatively like because that kind of, I tie slang into like my other interests with like kind of the nerdy stuff and the stuff I see on Twitter. So I'm like, you're the first person that I've interacted with that like has a hand in all of that just doesn't know what that means.
No. Well, now to be fair, I am a parental unit, but I also I also don't let myself in with other parental units, because to me, other parental units are like in their 50s and 60s, and I understand things more than them. But I like everything you just said about being mood or whatever. To me is like, so like if someone says something, I'd be like, oh yeah, I feel the same way. Like I feel like that's the much clearer way to say
it's just
big mood.
My Gen Z ass being like big mood because it's easier to type. I swear, like I have a friend, like one of my best friends is only a couple years younger than you, and we scream that at each other all the time.
No, I literally can never use that phrase because A, I already screwed it up once in the last 5 minutes, and B, like I would not use it I would use it incorrectly all the time.
I mean,
but it's okay.
Just fake it till you make it, man.
This world is no longer for me. Like literally in let's see, it's on July 13th, I will be 35. So while I'll be eligible to run for president, I will no longer belong to this world as far as entertainment, like pop culture. Like, yeah, they just don't care about it. Like TV and pop culture don't care about me when I hit 35.
Fair.
I have to go watch CNN and listen to NPR and
God, I hate NPR so much.
a lot of people think I'm joking, and I am, but my 100% when I turn 35, my big thing, my big mood, I guess, is going to be just doing just making a mockery out of the presidency, more than it is now, by saying that I'm running for president, because anyone can do it, obviously. So
yes, I just, you didn't use big mood right there. that was not the right context to use it. Yeah. And I don't mean to call you out. I'm just
no. I fully expected it to be incorrect. Anyway, yeah. So I don't. Yeah, but I'm officially at that age where like I just can't. And
I get it.
I just don't get. And not so much your generation, because I guess we're not that far off, but your generation and like my kid's generation and my nephew's generation. Like my nephew's 11 and he fucking, I don't know. I'm ready to give up.
The one thing I don't get is the Fortnite dancing. Like I can't do it, so it frustrates me.
You listen, Ted Danson can floss, all right?
I can't figure out I'm like trying to do it as I sit here in my chair. I can't do it.
No, I can't, and I won't. That's something that I won't even try to pretend. I will stick with like my generation's flossing is the Macarena, and
I think mine is like the Cupid shuffle.
Is it not dabbing? Is that
I dab, but like I started doing it ironically, and my friend, like I only started doing it kind of seriously because I did a photo shoot with my friend Robin, who she did a photo shoot as Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels, and I got this beautiful, like actually really beautiful picture of her, but it's her dabbing. And then I started to do it, and now I just do it all the time.
No, yeah, I saw, I think it was my nephew, he did a dab. I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm dabbing. I said, Jesus Christ, dude, come on, you're knock the fuck. Like I'm very, I get not angry, I get jokingly angry with him about all this stupid things.
It's like it's the Vine kind of generation humor. Because have you ever seen because the one that I quote all the time, the like Vine that I quote all the time, is the one that like if you see a road work ahead sign, you just look at everybody else in the car and go, yeah, I sure hope it does. My mom doesn't understand that and she hates it. Well, and my brother and I, anytime we see a construction sign in the car, we'll scream that at the top of our lungs. And she's like, what kind of children did I produce? Like, what did I raise?
Well, I can say I never got on board with Vine.
Oh, that's like the definition of my humor. Half of my humor is quoting Vines. Which is probably where Big Mood came from.
Jesus. Yeah, for me, like social media kind of ended with Twitter and Instagram. Like anything beyond that is where I don't even pretend to understand. Like Pinterest, no clue. Snapchat, don't get it. And that was officially when I realized I became like an old man, because I work in IT, so I do know technology. Yeah. But I very much am now a part of my life where there is technology that literally scares me, because I don't know. I don't understand Snapchat, never will. Don't get it at all. I just
use Snapchat to send people pictures of like my cats. That's all I use it for. And like I have one snap streak with one person.
Yeah, I don't get it. Don't care for it. Will never have it. I will stick with my Twitter and my 280 characters.
Now that we have more than 140, I'm like, cool, I can rant about more things.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, and now
not that that's a good thing for everybody, because president, but
yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's all I'm gonna say on that. Yeah.
Where else are we gonna I just think it's, and I don't. Well, this is the last political thing I'll say is, well, at least tonight, is that like we live in a world where like I get emails from Deadline about the president's tweet storm. Like I just don't understand like how that's the norm now. Like
we've come this far with technology, but we've also come this far with stupidity, and that is all I will say on that.
And like I watched the movie Idiocracy.
Oh my God, I had to watch that for a class like 2 years ago.
Because you had to watch it as a documentary?
No, I had to watch it for a creative writing class.
Because I watched it years ago and I was like, this movie's stupid. And then like 2016 happened. I said, oh my God, it predicted the future. It was a documentary. All right. Well, now we have to find a different note to end on.
Now we have to end this differently. We were doing so good with you not understanding millennials.
I don't. But see, here's the thing. I am a millennial. Well, see, and I have a thing with generations. I don't know why, because it doesn't mean anything. But I am like on paper, like I'm a millennial, which doesn't make sense because millennials are. I don't understand. I don't understand anything they do. Like, but there is this nice little cushion that someone created for me, not for me, like just for my generation of Zennials, where we're not quite Gen Xers, but we're not quite millennials. We're like right in the middle. And I'm happy that I have a home there, because it was such a hang up for me, because I was like, I'm not a Gen Xer because like I grew up on technology. I did grow up with computers, but I'm also not a millennial because like I just don't feel like one. Like I'm scared of Snapchat.
Scared of Snapchat.
Millennials are not. But yeah, there is. I don't know. So there's like two other generations I heard of. I guess Generation Z, and then Gen Z I generation.
Yeah, it's like Gen Z or iGen. I'm kind of like at the very, very, very beginning of whatever Gen Z. All I know is that I'm like, I grew up with VHS tapes, but I also know how to use yeet in a sentence. So I don't know where I fall.
Okay. Definitely I don't fall in the yeet generation. I fall in the VHS generation. Like if that's the binary.
I feel like if we ever record again, I'm just gonna purposefully use a lot of these just ridiculous slang terms to throw you off.
I've heard yeet somewhere before, but definitely
I use that as a verb. It's like I feel like I'm like John Mulaney with like the Street Smarts bit where he's like, gotta throw him off his rhythm. Like that's what I feel like right now.
I'm almost positive, like if I were to go to dictionary.com, yeet would not be in there as a verb.
It wouldn't, but it would be on Urban Dictionary probably.
Urban Dictionary.
I'm actually gonna look it up on Urban Dictionary, see if there's a definition.
Everything has a definition on Urban Dictionary.
I'm afraid of Urban Dictionary, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Urban Dictionary is the dark web of dictionary.
It is.
I haven't looked at it in years, again, because like I guess I'm an adult now. Like
I'm an adult now.
Like I guess I don't go. Yeah, I used to go there all the time to frequent just the craziness of words. And though you know what, this is how far we've come in this. I'm pretty sure there's some Urban Dictionary words that are not in the dictionary that work for Words with Friends. Like
oh my God.
I very recently.
I have not ever played Words with Friends, but like.
I used to play it like when it first came out, and then I very recently picked it back up again because I don't know why. Ralph Garman from Hollywood Babylon, the podcast, Kevin Smith's other podcast, he mentioned that he still plays it. Like he never stopped playing. I was like, oh my God, Words with Friends. I haven't played that in years. And again, because I'm an old man, it's fun.
I love that. I feel like that was something my grandma had, like, and that I played for a little bit, but like, then I'm just starting to just associate you with older and older generations, and I'm just digging myself a very deep hole here.
At least like when it was with your mom, like there's probably an age that's like not
my mom's
like,
a cool
15.
mom.
And I, honestly, probably my uncle would have been 50 this year. So like probably that's the age gap we're looking at about 16 years.
Yeah, my mom's in her 50s. So.
Versus like your grandmom, who I assume would probably be old enough to be at least my grandma as well.
Probably. But I'm just digging myself a hole here. It's fine. That's what I do.
But yeah. So okay. So I don't know. I do love that when somehow because of your article, I also got hooked up with Daniel Slade from
yeah.
And I chatted on his show. I guess that Temple of Geek or Toddcast or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
And then we had him on, and I loved when I had him on and like he told me like his real last name was Slade. I was like, God damn, that's a cool last name. Like that.
Yeah, that sounds like, isn't there a comic book character that's named like, isn't that like Deathstroke, like Slade Wilson?
Slade Wilson. Which speaking of, this is where we'll start to end our note on because you like the anti-heroes. So like, have you seen the trailer for Once Upon a Deadpool?
Yes, I think I did. Yeah, because I've seen the Fred Savage.
I was gonna say you did or you didn't.
I watched half of it with like the sound off on Twitter in the middle of class.
Oh, well,
I wasn't paying attention when I should have been.
Good productive time.
Listen, my playwriting class is a joke. It's fine.
It's but that is like such a great bit for like Disney to like, and not that Disney really probably has anything to do with this, but like Disney's able to use this as a test to see how Deadpool will work in the Avengers universe. First of all, you can make Deadpool work in the MCU.
Oh, you can make Deadpool work anywhere. I just don't want Disney to touch him.
Well, he's going to be owned by Disney.
But I don't want it.
And you see, we all say like, this is, I guess, your generation saying this. I said the same thing when they first bought Marvel.
Fair. Yeah, that does make sense.
And like, there was a fear as like they bought Marvel right around when I got back into comic books. I was reading The Walking Dead and the original Civil War storyline. And there was a huge fear that like they were going to throw Mickey Mouse ears on all these heroes. It was going to be instead of Spider-Ham, it was going to be Spider-Mouse. And there was a huge fear of that, like a legitimate fear we all had. Disney, I feel like does a good job at kind of letting Marvel do what they do best and letting like Lucasfilm do what they do best. I don't feel like maybe they interfered a little bit with The Last Jedi or Solo or one of those, but for the most part they let their brands that they purchase do their own thing. And I think the MC, Kevin Feige, if that's how you pronounce it, I always pronounce it right. I pronounce it, and I'll pronounce it the right way one day, and I'll pronounce it wrong the next. It's always different, kind of like my signature. And he'll do a great job with Deadpool, I think. And like, there's just because of like that's the one character from the Fox Marvel universe that doesn't have to change. Because that's kind of his deal. Is
I just like listening to him say fuck. I just know he won't be allowed to do that.
Well, but see, I think they're still going to do the R-rated Deadpool X-Force films.
Yeah.
Under whether they do it under the MCU banner or not, I don't know. But they'll still do that. And then I think we'll also have awesome opportunities to have Deadpool mixed up with maybe not Iron Man, but like with
Tony Stark is a goner.
Everyone I come up with is an old school Avenger, and I can't think of Black Panther or Spider-Man. Oh God, that's the team up movie I want, is Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and Deadpool. Have you read the Spidey Pool comics? No, but they are
amazing.
There was a Spider-Man comic book that I read years ago that was very specifically a Spider-Man team-up comic book. So it was always Spider-Man and Captain America for like 5 issues, and then it was Spider-Man and Deadpool for another 5 issues. And every interaction I've ever seen with them in comic books or in now, I never watched really any of the Spider-Man cartoons beyond the 90s cartoon. But like the one that was on Disney XD, there was interactions between him and Deadpool that was amazing that I've seen in GIF form. And overall, that's the best. Like, that's my ship from the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
Is Spider-Pool.
Oh God, yeah. Where was this going?
We didn't want to end on
politics. Yeah, and I'm gonna get kicked out of this room in about 20 minutes. Right, so
real quick. We also I don't know how we didn't even touch on this at all. Probably the thing that makes the most sense to talk about with you is that you do your own radio show for your college.
I do.
Let's talk about that, and then we can let you go so you don't get kicked out.
It is. So what I do is student radio. We do WWEC 88.3, the sound of Elizabethtown. That's our call sign. And so what we do here is that any student, regardless of their major or what they're doing, they don't have to be a comm major. You can sign up to do an hour show or a 2-hour show. And I've been doing a radio show every semester since I arrived at college, because I got to the comm department kind of when they were doing their mixer thing, and they were like, sign up for a radio show. And I was like, cool, I'll try it, because I like music, and that's kind of my big, I love playing music, and I love exposing people to new music. So at the moment, I've had a 2-hour show every semester except for my first semester, when you have to have like a 1 hour. So I've had a 2-hour show almost every semester since I've started. Right now it's Tuesdays from 4 to 6. 88.3, you can listen on like the TuneIn app if I'm gonna plug myself. And basically what I do is I play I try to theme my shows around something. So it's a lot of movies. Like one semester I did all kind of female characters from movies, and so I would write a whole script on their character and what they meant to me and their history and that kind of thing, and then I would theme the music around them. And that's that's what I do, is I do a lot of talking. I get roasted by my radio boss for the amount of talking that I do. But so yeah, radio to me was never a thing that I considered doing kind of when I started college. I never thought that would be an avenue for me, because you just don't have access to radio stations. Like, not a lot of colleges have radio stations, and we are so lucky that we have this great radio station. It's this little kind of square box of a room that is frigid cold all of the time, but you can do whatever you want in there. You can play whatever you want. You can kind of talk about whatever you want. The only rule is that you can't swear on air, because that's the FCC rules, and it's just so freeing and wonderful to like come in at like 4:00 on a Tuesday afternoon, and just at the moment it's just my show is a bunch of Queen, because I've seen Bohemian Rhapsody 3 times now, but just put a bunch of Queen on the system and then chill back for 45 minutes and then talk for 20 minutes and then chill back for the rest of my show.
See, that's
like,
so to me that's
so freeing.
That's frustrating, because I would want to talk for an hour and 15 minutes and then like, oh, I have to get a drink of water, let me play this one song. And
yeah, and you can totally do that. You're allowed to do kind of whatever you want, which is the amazing part of it.
Yeah, see, that's where like I've always known about college radio, but seeing like how easy it is for people to access it, and not necessarily from talking to you when we first connected, but just from like finding out that you did it, I was like, let me look into like all the local colleges that like I had attended for a little bit, and like, did they have college radio that I could have done? Because like, again, had I known when I was a teenager this is what I wanted to do, I would have done it. And I was like, oh my God, I've missed so many opportunities. I want to go back to college just to host the show. And it was literally the thing I do on a weekly basis here on awesomepodcast.com. But I would love to, like, I love the idea of doing it on FCC, like trying to be FCC friendly, because
it's so hard not to swear. It's so hard. I swear, like I've been trying not to swear on this because I wasn't sure if I could, but it is so hard not to swear on it.
No. The beautiful thing about the internet is like all the cursing is allowed. Like I'm pretty sure.
I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure even like the words that you shouldn't say, they're allowed. They're just frowned upon.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I do like I've tuned in to the TuneIn app a few times just to like check it out and like see what's going on when I have downtime in that like 2-hour window. Because I'm super interested in the idea of like, what does a college student do for radio? And like, it's funny. I look at it from like just from listening to talk radio for literally 20 some years now at this point. And it's like, oh my God, I wish I would go to college and just show all these kids, like, here's how you could just tighten up that 1 minute of or that 1 second of silence I hear. I want to hear more hitting the post. I don't hear that ever. And not just like literally every tune-in show, which is, I guess, a lot of like there's 2 college radio stations I've been listening to. Just like, I don't know why, just because I'm weird. And I'm like, oh my God, like no one hits the post anymore. And like, it makes me
I don't even know what that means.
Oh my God, how you're doing a radio show and you don't know what that means. Here's where we're going to end on. I'm going to teach you something that you can try to do as a DJ. You're a music show. Hitting the post means that when the song is queued up, at what point the lyrics are going to kick in. So when you're getting ready to end your talking segment and introduce the song you're about to play, you stop talking right when the words are about to play, so that there's literally, instead of having that second of silence in between you finishing your thought and then the song loading, it's you talking, the song loading and just a bed of music of that song playing until you hit the post. You don't stomp over the lyrics of the song, and then it fades into the lyrics.
Okay, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, I think I don't know if we can get away with that because we can't control the level of the music that goes out. So it would just be like my voice gets all drowned out by the beginning of like We Will Rock You or whatever the hell I happen to be playing. But like I will try it. I'll have to ask my boss, who will probably roast me for being like, how do you not know how to do that? You're on the radio board.
There's a little fader switch here that says fade. That's how
I know how to control the mic level, and that's it.
There's got to be a level for that.
There's gotta be. I feel like we might get yelled at if we touch it, though.
Well, I as Professor Kev am telling you to hit the post and touch that level. And that is my dream, is to tune in on Tuesday and hear you hit the post.
Okay, I'll try it.
So I'm going to be specifically tuning in from 4 to 6.
Oh God, now the pressure's on.
The pressure is on. But don't worry, because this episode drops like well after Tuesday. So whether I won't
have any pressure from other people I don't know.
It's just for me. And I gotta say, your grade relies on it. I want to email your professors and let them know.
Oh God.
All right. You have a couple of minutes before you're going to get kicked out.
Yes, I have about 15 minutes before they're going to be like, please get the hell out of this library.
Before we let you go, is there anywhere you want people to come check you out besides the TuneIn app for your radio station?
You can find me on Instagram at Maggie Rachel _. So it's MAGGIE RACHAEL _ because my middle name is spelled weird. Thank you, Mom. I'm also on Twitter at Maggie _ RACHAEL, and I don't want people to find my Tumblr, so I'm just gonna leave you guys with those two. Oh, also, my photography Instagram, because I should plug that because we talked about it, is at Maybe Photos. So MAYB PHOTOS. I almost forgot how to spell photos. It's so late.
Hire Maggie to be your photographer. She doesn't know how to spell it, but
pay me money.
You can take
I'm broke. Pay me.
All right.
I'll take your picture.
Thank you for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for asking me and continuing to deal with my, oh God, college schedule, not being able to schedule this even though we wanted to do it in May thing.
Yeah. And sorry, we also talked about launching a podcast that was supposed to launch like 2 months ago.
It'll happen eventually.
It'll happen. In a post-London world.
Post after I get back from studying abroad. Yay!
Yeah. We didn't even talk about Ireland. That's like
no.
I'll have to have you on again so we can talk about Ireland and London and your TARDIS travels. I just assume you're going to be traveling through time with the Doctor and Captain Jack.
Of course.
All right. Thank you to Maggie for being on the show. I really loved this conversation. It was something, as you heard in the interview and conversation itself, that we've tried putting together since pretty much May. Wizard World was kind of early this year, so we tried putting it together the end of May. Like, it was a couple weeks after the con that we kind of connected, and we tried putting the interview together, and in between that point and the time that we actually recorded, we were attempting to start a podcast together, and we had kind of a cool concept for a Star Wars podcast that I'm hoping to still do. She's in London right now, and so we decided that, like, with everything I had going on at the end of the year, with getting ready for a festival, dealing with my emotional baggage of cancer, basically, losing my uncle, my dad being diagnosed, with all that stuff piling up at the end of the year, we and her getting ready to go to London, it felt better to wait to launch another podcast. So that's something that I hope to do maybe in 2019, summer or end of the year. But it will happen. I trust that it will happen. Wonderful photographer. If you check out some of her plugs that she mentioned at the end of the show, they're also going to be in the show notes. You can see some of her wonderful photography that she's done, and some of it includes the panel that I was on and hosted and ran for Wizard World. If you check out, you can listen to her radio show when she does it right now. Obviously, she's not doing it because she's in London, but you can follow the Elizabethtown's radio station on the TuneIn app, I believe. And spoilers, she never hit the post. Never hit the post. Calling you out. Thank you all for listening and whatnot. I still need to tweak the end of the show to update our plugs and stuff. So the key things to remember: patreon.com/thatnerdykev is a great, wonderful way to support this show and support me as a content creator and help get more kind of neat pop culture-y, nerdy stuff out there to the world. And you can also leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. That, I don't know how often I stress this, but that is like the most, or at least one of the most important things to a podcaster, is getting those 5-star rating and reviews on iTunes. Yes, you may listen to the podcast somewhere else, and please rate and review us there as well, because obviously other people are doing that, but there is a lot that goes into being able to say, I've ranked up on iTunes on the Apple Podcast charts and whatnot. That means a lot, even if it's not a financial end game. It's like, for me, it's like, man, I enjoy reading them and stuff. And we haven't personally got one in a while, so please leave a 5-star rating review on iTunes. We only ever check the USA one, so if you've left one from another country, please let me know and we'll find it. And if you're using another service to listen to us and you've left a 5-star rating review, please let us know what you're using to listen to us so we can go check out those ratings and reviews and whatnot. You know what? Just have a really good day. Oh man, I'm turning into Heart Points Pod. But no, seriously, have a great day. Have a week. I'm Kevin Smith now. And just remember to, just be good, be positive, and thank you for spending I think this was a 2-hour show, the last 2 hours listening to Everything Is Awesome. You could literally be doing anything with your day, with your time. You could have gone and seen a movie while listening to this podcast, but you chose to spend it with us, with Maggie and I. So thank you so much. It means the world to me that people sit down and listen to this podcast and have any interest in what I like to talk about. So thank you so much. We'll catch you next time right here on awesomepodcast.com. We like to end Everything is Awesome with a call to action. Super friends, there are a lot of terrible things happening right now. It can feel like you can't do anything to help, but you can. It takes people like us to make a difference. One of the easiest and most effective ways to action is to call your representatives about issues that are important to you. When I call my reps, I use a site called 5calls.org. That's the number 5calls.org. There, you'll find issue summaries for issues that are important to you, contact information for your representatives, and a script to read while you're on the phone to make sure your message gets across. Calling is quick, easy, and is one of the most effective ways to have your voice heard. Thank you to all of our supporters on patreon.com/thatentertains. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring this episode to you. If you want to support us in a non-monetary way, word-of-mouth recommendations and 5-star rating reviews on iTunes are the best way to spread the good word of awesome. You can find us on Facebook.com and Twitter at RealAwesomePod or at AwesomePodcast on Instagram. And we're available on AwesomePodcast.com and ThatEntertains.com/network. Get news about Everything is Awesome from our website, social media accounts, and also on my personal Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. If you're interested in ad rates, live appearances, help with your podcast, or have a question or comment, email us at awesome@crudeHumorstudios.com. Everything is Awesome is a production of That's Entertainment Podcast Network in association with Crude Humor Studios. Crude Humor Studios is a Philadelphia-based production company specializing in audio, video, and live performances. You can find more info at crudehumorstudios.com. Thanks for listening, super friends. We've been awesome.
That's Entertainment Podcast Network. Entertainment and culture. Artist-owned, fan-supported.